Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrible Home Care. Very glad you are joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. One of the things we always like doing is getting an update on some of the areas that make a huge impact, not only to us in our area, but to the state, to the nation, and actually to the world. One of those people that can always give us such great updates. We welcome back to the program, Mr. Chett Chiasson. Chett, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
Absolutely. Of course, Chett, Executive Director of the Greater Lafourche Port Commission, and we always like to find out what's going on down at the port. Give us a few updates, if you don't mind, about where things are.
Absolutely. So we're seeing progress on, again, our recovery from Hurricane Ida, storm damages to our public facilities. We have projects in place. We have some that are recently very shortly going to be completed. We have others that are continuing to move forward, and we're seeing progress. Our Emergency Operations Center in Port Fourchon has walls all the way down to the ground now, which is
Woo!
good. Took some rainwater. We had
Right.
2 feet of basically the walls, 2 feet of that all throughout the building were removed. Those have been replaced and painted, and still a little bit more work to be done. Some roof work to be done on both of those buildings. Our At the public boat launch, the bathroom, elevated bathroom facility over there is just about complete, if not fully complete, as we speak today. And things again are moving forward. So we're very happy to see progress continuing in our community and at the port. Our customers' facilities are doing the same, and a lot of work is taking place, and the port really, is starting to look back to normal and really looking good now. So we're very happy to see that and things moving forward. In terms of our admin office up in Cutoff, that's moving forward as well. We have all of the roof uh, equipment and products needed to fix the roof are on site. So, we're hoping to be in our building prior to the middle of next year of 2023. So we're excited about that. Everyone, all of our admin staff and employees are excited to, you know, that aspect of getting back to normal in the coming months. So we're moving forward, pushing forward, and excited about that. I can tell you that just a couple of days ago, we were notified that we're finally getting some of our reimbursements back from FEMA. We're getting back our 90% of our debris removal costs, and
Okay.
that 90% is $1.12 million. So we're finally going to get that in the next couple of weeks. Get our some funds reimbursed back to our coffers. So we're uh, absolutely excited about that, right? Because when you spend so much money up front, you anticipating those funds to come back to you. So we're happy to see things starting to move in
Look,
that direction.
a couple of really important things going on there. And look, over at your main office, being able to get that back and going. I remember the day that my shingles were delivered for the house. And that's an exciting day. Just
Yeah,
being able to see the look. And look, you guys have had to wait. We had so many other things that I know were very important. And, again, just getting all those things together and, you know, getting the port up and running is certain first and foremost. Being able to do it in 10 days was remarkable.
yeah,
Still absolutely amazing that it was done that way. But to get that corporate office ready and you just see the steps being taken, right? And then getting some money to come in for all the money that's had to go out. That's
yeah.
really nice. Just being able to see, okay, now we can breathe a little bit because
That's
because
right.
you can only run on fumes for so long, right?
That's correct. That's right. That's right. And it's going to continue to happen, right? So we're in that phase now where we've struggled through the recovery thus far, and now we're rebuilding and starting to get some of those reimbursements back from the federal government, and it's really helpful for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and look, some of those projects, it's so nice to be able to see when they come to totality. They come to the finish line, if you will. You can check off that box because every time we talk, you've got this litany of projects that are going on, and then there's all the new things, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. But it's the big things, but there's a lot of little things like look, getting your walls finished, getting the walls coming all the way down to the ground. That's good news. Having that
Yes.
elevated bathroom finished or close to finishing, just really good news. It's being able to check off a list of all of those things, and there's so many things that were damaged that needed help.
That's correct. That's correct. And as you know, as we continue to see this progress, continue to see projects come in, the Corps actually came in and do their maintenance work and get some of the siltation that we had from Hurricane Ida. They just finished that dredging project. All of those things are positive and getting us in the right direction, getting us prepared for continuing business and continuing to provide energy for the country.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think probably you guys more than anyone so thankful, and it's nice that we passed Thanksgiving. More importantly, we were so very thankful to not have an interruption in even tropical storms, much less a hurricane or a major hurricane come through. So really nice to be able to truly stay in that recovery mode without interruption, huh?
That's absolutely correct. And, to not have to be interrupted by any storm event this year is a blessing. And I know our communities are thankful for that. I know we as public entities are thankful for that, who are responsible for response and recovery in many ways. We are thankful to not have been in a cone of uncertainty this year.
All right.
That's a real relief, and gets us ready for the next one. Unfortunately, that's going to come in the middle of
Right.
next year.
Right. Gives us the ability to prepare for it. And so, one of those things, we're talking about all those different projects. And again, very excited that those things are coming to fruition, closing, the Corps coming in, doing that silt removal and taking care of that, the bathroom that's finished, the work that's being done, being able to work on those projects, getting some money in. But the deepening project, let's talk about that. That's a big one that's going to make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Thank you for that intro on the project.
Mhm.
We've been working on this for about 5 years now. It's not as easy as just saying, "Hey, we want to go deep and go do it." You have to get authority. You have to get approval. Yeah, it actually takes an act of Congress to make that happen when you're dealing with navigable waterways in our port system here in the United States. So, we went through that whole process. I've talked about the fact that we did a feasibility study. We did our own feasibility study because it was probably taking the Corps, unfortunately, 10 years to do it. It took us 5, and a lot of money, but it's worth it. So we're finally in that phase where it's in the Corps of Engineers' hand here in the district. In the New Orleans district, and we have signed a federal cost share agreement, which means the cost of finalizing the report and getting it to a full project and ready for dredging. We have to share that cost 50-50 with them. So that's it's going to cost us about $650,000 as our share. So, you double that, that's the total number of the project. To finalize this report and get it through, it's going to take about another 17 months. But what's good about this is in the meantime, we actually applied for a permit to dredge the 33 feet. We're currently at 27. We want to dredge to 33 feet just to provide better access, more efficient, maybe different types of businesses that can come in and do business in Port Fourchon. So we're moving that forward, and it's going to take 17 months. But on the report, but what we did in the meantime is we applied for the permit
Mhm.
for us to just go and do the dredging work. And we believe we should receive that permit in the next couple of months. And then sometimes in the middle of 2023, June, July timeframe, we should start a deepening project, actually dredging Belle Pass and Bayou Lafourche to minus 33 feet, and utilizing, this is critical now, utilizing that material beneficially in building up the marsh to the west side of the port. And that'll provide, critical protection and from storm surge and storms in general for the future. Not just to the port, but to the community north of it, right? As we continue to do those things, to do dredging, utilizing all that material beneficially, we're going to continue to reach the goals of not just our community, but of the state's coastal master plan and building up a lot of this marsh that we've lost over the years. That's critical as we move forward. Now we're going to do that dredging in conjunction with the state and NOAA as part of the QIPRA program. It's a federal program that allows for habitat restoration and creation. And so basically what we're doing is we're going to use our channel as the borrow source for that marsh creation. So it's basically utilizing $1 to produce environmental and economic value to our community and to our state and to our federal government.
Yeah. So if there's ever been a time where it's a win-win-win, this is it. The win, you want to be able to deepen it from 27 to 33. Why? It increases the opportunity for larger vessels, more business, bigger boats, bigger business, right? And so those coming in and then being able to use all of the silt that's removed, all of that mud to be able to strengthen our marshes and to kind of replace those things. Those are 3 wins in a row. That it's just so very well thought out, Chett. And I know it's taken some time. I love the fact that you put a permit in and said, "Hey, let's get started before we get the money. Let's get started before we're waiting for that." Because like you said, y'all have already invested the 5 years into trying to do that assessment, along with the 10 years for the Corps.
That's correct. And this is the first step in deepening of the port. As we move forward, we're hopefully not in the word bill that's going to be passed by Congress, more than likely in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
But 2 years from now, when a new word bill is going to come up, hopefully we can get authorization for a portion of Bell Pass out to the 50-foot contour, authorized to 50-foot draft, so that we can do the bigger and better things like deep water rig repair, refurbishment, decommissioning, project cargo, offshore renewables, all of those things that take big, heavy, large ships and equipment as we move forward to just produce more economic value for our community, more environmental value, and help our country keep the business here that we lose in terms of offshore energy on an annual basis, with rigs leaving the Gulf to go get repaired and refurbished in other locations, and the other opportunities that are coming around.
Yeah, it's a great vision for a port that does so much for our entire international community and international impacts, but now making that even bigger and better. And so it's a great vision for that. You mentioned that the projects that are working, that deepening project, looking forward to it over time. But one of the things that it's going to really be able to do is really open up our opportunity to fully service some of those, the progression that we're looking at for the opportunity for this offshore wind and some of these renewables that we're talking about, and how we merge what we're doing with what we want to do. Oil and gas remains so very, very important. You can't do without it. And I just quiver at the fact that people think we can. But there's a way to move forward with that and be able to sustain what we're doing and do it in a healthy and clean way. Let's talk a little bit about where things stand with that.
Sure. Absolutely. And I'll use the term again. We believe that we're in an energy addition, not an energy transition. Right. Oil and gas is here to stay, and we're going to continue to utilize it for our energy needs for this country and for the base of all of the products and goods and services that we enjoy on a daily basis in our country and around the world. So that's not going away. We don't anticipate that going away for a very, very long time. And our customers are the best at servicing that energy offshore. So it only makes sense to us that as we move forward, as we enter this energy addition phase of energy production, that Port Fourchon, our customers and the users are going to play a role in anything that's going to be happening in terms of offshore wind, the potential green hydrogen creation, and the like. So we've been visited by a number of potential operators who are looking at the Gulf of Mexico. We've been visited by potential, service providers in particular for offshore wind itself. and looking at the port and how a purpose-built facility could be generated at Port Fourchon to service offshore wind. So we're very excited about those new opportunities that are coming our way for our community, to create new jobs, to create new facilities, to bring new business here into our community, so that we can continue to provide energy for this country. And that's critical as we continue to move forward. We understand what we do well, right? We understand that we know energy, and no matter how it's being produced, there need vessels, they need people, they need support, and our community, Port Fourchon, its tenant base, can do that.
And they need supplies, and they need people that can provide that. And we're doing all the steps and taking all of the steps necessary to provide all of those things as we continue to rely on and need the current leases that we have and new leases that we need to continue to maintain where we are for us to move forward with that potential addition. Because there's a lot of things we don't know about that wind addition.
That's correct. That's correct. And there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of thoughts. Look, it's expensive to create that power. It's more expensive to create that power than we generate, from a nuclear standpoint or a natural gas standpoint that we currently enjoy in Louisiana. So that's a challenge. However, what we anticipate seeing is that prior to anything that's going to go on in the federal leases that have been announced over the last several months, we believe that there will be, some smaller projects in state waters in the coming, 3 or 4 years prior to the timing that they can do in the federal waters. So that'll allow us to kind of put the supply chain together for offshore wind and be ahead of the game, so to speak, as we move forward to what's anticipated to be a much larger and robust offshore wind um, capability in the coming, in the next 10 years in the U.S. Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, it's got to be a stepping stone process. There's got to be some steps that are in place that allow us to be able to do that. But again, we're having to do a great deal of research to figure out how and what to do. We already know what we have with regards to sustainable economic development and providing that through oil and gas and natural gas.
That's correct, and continuing to understand and learn. Look, I'm here. That's why you're not seeing me in my office. I'm in New Orleans at the Workboat Show, and at the Workboat Show, which has typically been an oil and gas service sector type of group, both from a brown water and blue water standpoint. Um, I mean, I just walked back over here from an offshore wind breakfast at the Workboat Show. So it is fully becoming intertwined. And again, why I'd like to use the term energy addition and not an energy transition, because we need it all, and we're going to be doing it all. And the same people that are doing it for the most part for offshore oil and gas are going to be the supply chain for offshore wind and other renewables.
Yeah, and that's just, it's important for us to kind of see the big picture and not replace that picture, if you will. It's not about replacing anything. It's not about transitioning anything. It's about the addition to what we have now, which has been it's been very well serviced and used. We know that. We're just moving forward with being able to do what's the next step.
That's correct. That's correct. And it's companies that have from here that have already built the first wind farm in the Northeast, as we've
Right.
talked about in the past.
Exactly. Chet, we always appreciate the updates. Thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for being there to get updates and letting us know what's going on. We appreciate it. Thanks again.
Thanks again for having me.
You got it. All right. And that will do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming here on HTV.